Is it a disappointment if you delayed your life for 20 years and then at the end of it you figure out, well, gee, I don't really want to sit around doing nothing? Is that a disappointment? We're sharing these principles because they're life principles that we actually put in motion, that we actually have used all our lives. People say that the reason for delaying their life plan is to replace their present work income, which, again, we want to have that foresight, that vision, and we're telling you from experience that that's not necessary. And in fact, you're going down the wrong road doing that, because I know whether you're working in a brick and mortar business as a worker or whether you're working in a brick and mortar business as a business person, a business owner, or someone building a business, your expenses are going to be way higher than the retire early lifestyle, intentional kind of lifestyle, simple, living simply but intentionally. And I don't like the term living simply because it makes it sound like you're just counting beans and not doing anything or something. I mean, in our living simply, we've traveled the world. We've been on, different continents, and done our living simply. We used to say we've never paid more than $300 or $400 for 3 and 4 bedroom houses and apartments, furnished and unfurnished and all that business. And it's just that our simple living and this terminology like minimalistic, I have difficulty using the terminology because we don't really, we're not really minimalist. We are, but we aren't. If the airline says you're minimalist, you can't carry anything, then we're minimalist, but otherwise we're not. And but back to the conversation, you won't need this is something that I think people struggle with because from an experiential point of view, if you're not yet living the retire early lifestyle in the present moment and living intentionally, it's hard to visualize, because most people, when you start talking to them about living intentionally, or if you say anything at all about living on less, it's just all of a sudden the picture becomes one of lack and not doing anything. My resume is that we've lived the retire early lifestyle for 3.5 decades. Our living intentionally has always been for a lot less than when we had going businesses or activities like that. Like, I know when I was a younger man building my businesses, I had to buy a truck. I had a big truck, and when we went abroad, I didn't even have a car for 10 years. And we didn't want the car. It wasn't this thing like, oh, I can't have a car, I'm only living on this much. It was not a position of lack, it was a position of strength. It was like, this is great, I don't need a car. So what I'm saying is that just to use the transportation cost as an example, right? Even living intentionally for like when we had, when people still have commitments, they're going to have a lot higher transportation and perhaps housing costs than when you're living more intentionally. And when you're living more intentionally, you can do things like go to the store once a week. Now, we do that here in Mexico. We get in the car once or twice a week, and we don't have to live next to an employer or any certain city. And that's all part of the living intentional that I don't really need to go into detail, that perhaps a lot of people aren't able to visualize. But once you start thinking about it and putting it on paper and asking yourself, well, if I wasn't believing, because that's what it is, it's a belief. If I wasn't believing into this delayed life plan, and I was able to, how would I put a plan in motion that would allow me to live more intentionally in the here and now? And whether you scale back your work hours and you perhaps start a side gig, not side hustle, to talk about that in a different video, but if you start your own activity with the intention of slowly morphing out of your hourly wage and into a variety of different activities that add a financial benefit to your existence, and then you enjoy yourself at the same time. So that becomes the goal in order to be able to live your retire early lifestyle in the here and now. And however you achieve that is particular to your skills and your abilities and your location and your desires and what you enjoy and that kind of thing. So, but the bottom line is that once we make a study of, because you can't make a study of something else, it's a lot more difficult. It's more challenging to sit here. If you're occupied, it's just inherent within the delayed life plan. And so you do like what businesses do. You do a pro forma or an estimated. You do an estimated income and you start with your estimated expenses of what they would look like with a more intentional life plan in the here and now. Well, all of the choices that people end up making in order to enhance their delayed life plan simply enhance the delayed life plan. It's all you're doing is you're just cementing and confirming your hamster wheel. And people don't realize that they're giving up on their present moment happiness, all of the things that and the relationships and the people and all of the things that you could have spent time on that you didn't, and all of the reasons why the delayed life plan is a bad idea. People have said to us in the past, well, at least you get to move and live over there. I can't do that. I'm stuck over here. Well, that's because we planned it that way. We set out to intentionally, that's what the word intentional means, is that you make a decision and you make a commitment. You analyze it, you put it down on paper, you make estimates, and you make plans, and you slowly work towards your plans. And it doesn't have to be replacing your present work income in the future, because that is one of those things that a lot of people are believing in that doesn't really work for those that want to live intentionally in the here and now, and it does work for those that want to delay their life plan. It's as simple as that. It's like you've got to decide, why am I on a delayed life plan now? It's like, is that what I really want? So for example, I'm seeing a lot of retired couples that did the delayed life plan, and I like to compare to how we've done things, to have conversations like this to hopefully encourage people. And that is, like, I see a lot of the couples that they'll retire at 67. They have it scheduled, they're going to do the travel and for the next 10 years and that kind of thing. And the thought occurs to me, I'm barely now 60, and we've already been traveling for a dozen years. And before that we were already traveling even before that. So this was just the travel abroad. But then we were traveling also in USA for a number of years with the family and a travel trailer and all that. So I'm just saying that you get to do things when you're a lot younger. I do think that there is a difference. Don't you, Angie?
Yes, there's a big difference.
I know that, for example, if I had to go haul a 30-foot travel trailer behind a Suburban right now, I can still do it, but some things would be different. So yeah, it's just that you get to do things when you live intentionally sooner and don't delay your life plan. You get to do things a lot sooner. And so and I'm not saying that you would do what I did. I'm just
that's just what we did.
Yeah, that's what we did. That's what we wanted to do.
As
and
an
we
example,
wanted to travel the U.S. and then we traveled the world abroad. So, and we're still only 60, and we've already done that. So now we get to put other things on the front burner, and so it's an achievement, when you live intentionally, and because we all know that there's no guarantees. If there are any surprises, you don't end up having curtail that plan that you had. Like, see, you had, you had said, well, when I retire, when I'm 67, and then we'll travel for 10 years. But if something happens and you have to cut that, like a lot of people have done, a lot of people haven't, but a lot of people have had to do after 2020.
Well, it's sure going to take a lot of gas, that Suburban nowadays.
Yeah, and then the gas prices and everything. So Angie just reminded me of a perfect example, like when we were younger, living already the retire early lifestyle, living intentionally. We used to go to the twofer, not twofer, but Tuesday, I don't know, matinee reduced hour or something. But the fact that we weren't on a 9 to 5 delaying our life meant that we could go there. Oh, I first should say, I was just listening to a video of somebody saying that, you know, you should stay on the delayed life plan. He didn't call it that, but he said, you know, you just keep your nose to the grindstone and keep investing and keep doing the plan. And then because he said, because if you don't, why, you know, you'll have to do things like free entertainment and this kind of thing. And he just made it sound like it was this drudgery that gee whiz, you wouldn't want to have to do that. And here we are, we're at the beach, this is free. And you know how many people wish they could be sitting at the beach right now? You know, and it's free, which means I can come here and do it anytime I want. And so we used to go to the matinee because if we went on the weekend, it was $10. And so to watch a movie, we would go on Tuesday for $2.50. So we still were able to watch we were still able to go to the movie theater, and the benefit was that it wasn't crowded. Remember? There wasn't really that many people on a Tuesday morning, and so we paid a lot less for it, but we still got what we wanted, and we got it for $2.50 instead of having to, you know, wait for the weekend when everybody else was going and have to pay the $10, which back then was you know, the equivalent of whatever the movie theaters cost now. And so that's a perfect example of how here you are doing things intentionally and on reduced money, but yet you're still getting the benefit that, you know, people on a delayed life plan are on, not realizing that they're just paying more for it. And that's the point, is that the whole point was of this video is that your expenses while you're living intentionally, while you're intentionally living your retire early lifestyle, aren't necessarily going to be, they're not going to be the same as, you know, when you're on your delayed life plan. And so, for example, we drive to the beach and it costs us $1 or $2 in gas, and we come to the beach and we sit at the beach and it doesn't cost us anything. And yet, or, you know, you can compare that to people that are delaying their life for their retirement, and then they have to take a vacation, and then that's going to cost, you know, what vacations cost. It's going to cost an arm and a leg. But, you know, when you're living intentionally, you can arrange your life in such a way that you don't need a vacation. So I hope you got something out of that. Thanks for coming to the video, and let us know your thoughts, and have a nice day.